Toronto home sellers are really frustrated with what's going on today, and the homes are not selling, and buyers are feeling like a lot of properties are overpriced. There's so many houses sitting in the market as we're standing today. In this video, I really want to break down everything that's going on with the market and really give you a good idea of what you can do both from the buyer and the seller's perspective. But before I get into it, I want to introduce myself. My name is Clement. I'm a real estate broker here in the Greater Toronto area. And for those who are new to the channel, I mainly focus on residential real estate all across the GTA. And if you have any concerns, any questions that you really want to get into, you can always reach out to me. But in this channel, you can just like, subscribe, and let's get into it. As of June of 2025, the Greater Toronto area had 6,243 homes for sale and virtually unchanged from month over month. Now, when we're looking at this, it's a 0.5% drop year over year, same time 2024 to this year, 2025. Meanwhile, active listings surged up to 34%. So there's a lot more properties staying in the market today, which is completely drastic. And you'll see with also year over year, this number has reached to up to 31,600 listings. We haven't had this in about 10 years, guys. So this is a big deal. So you're seeing a lot of homes. Why are they staying in the market? Sellers are feeling a little bit frustrated that their houses are not selling within that 30 to 40 day period. We're going to cover all this information here for you today. The other thing I really wanted to share with you here is the sales to new listing ratio. This is sitting right now at about 38%. On a good buyer market, typically we're always under that 40%. On an average market, you want to be in and around that 50 to 60%. That way you know you're in an average market per se. Now, when you are sitting under within that 32 to 38%, you're absolutely in a buyer's market. So buyers have a lot of options sitting today. And this is something that I'm going to tackle in this video to really tell you as a buyer, what are some of the options? How can you really approach this as well? So let's look at the first thing, the longer time in the market. So the days in market. A lot of homes, let's say the detached in Toronto, let's look at that for example. The detached homes are staying for up to 29 days. So you're looking at 30 days there. Condo townhouses are staying up to 24 days. The condo apartments are sitting up to 29 days. Now for the condos, it's just a completely different market today. The months of inventory in condos are sitting, for some condos haven't sold within 6 to 8 months. The plan approaching to condos is completely different. I'm going to be talking about this in my next video here. In the next two videos, just stay tuned. I'll talk in detail about the condo market because there's something happened. There's a huge shift that's going on with the condo market that you have to be very strategic coming into it. But just to tackle this on here, when you're looking at it from a seller perspective, you want to see the days on market is a very important tool to understand when you're coming into the market to see how long has your neighbor stayed in the market for? How quick did they sell? Did they sell within 7 days? Did they sell within 14 days? That tells you they were within that market price. And then from there is when you start being honest with yourself and saying, okay, if I put my house or put my property in the market today, the likelihood of it staying a whole lot longer because of that marketing price can give your property this, what we call a stigma. Because if your house has stayed in the market for about 60 days or 90 days, a buyer is going to look at it and start thinking, okay, what's going on with this house? So those are really important things that you really want to look at, the days on market as well. The major one here is the pricing reality. This is the tricky part for a lot of sellers. So when we look at the average sale price in Toronto today sitting at $1,101,000. The benchmark year over year is $995,100. So this is a 5.5% drop year over year. So for detached, we'll see that they have dropped by 6%. And for condos, they've dropped by 5% year over year. So many sellers are basing their price point to that peak of the market 21, 22 time range there. And this is the reality check that a lot of sellers are being faced with today. I know a lot of sellers feel like they've done a lot of work to their home, so they feel like I should be getting a whole lot more for this. I spent $10,000, $20,000 on my washrooms. So this is where you have to be very meticulous on how you're approaching a lot of your renovations as a seller, because in a market like today, if you're doing renovations, spending $50,000 with anticipation of doubling that, it's not the market for that. So the expectations and the reality of what's going on in the market is also a major thing that's going on in today's market. And that's why you're seeing a lot of properties staying in the market for a lot longer than typical, really. And this in turn is also driving the inventory. So you're saying properties have been in the market for 80 days, 90 days, and they're not changing. They're not doing price changes on there. They're just waiting to see what's going on. And a lot of these houses, sometimes they're not even getting showings to it. So you're going a whole week, 0 showings. You're going 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a whole month. You only have around 3 showings. And then within that, you get an offer that's close to the market, but a seller is feeling like, no, we'll just keep on waiting. And that is a lot of what's going on today. So what can you do as a seller? And there's 3 things that I really want to talk about on here. So the first thing you really want to look at is price your property, price your home according to today's market, not according to what you feel your house is going to sell, not according to what you feel necessarily the value of your home is going to potentially sell for because you want to buy something else. Price it according to today's market. That will honestly give you the best outcome for your plans moving forward. Now, if you're looking at your neighbor and your neighbor's house is sold for such amount, now you want to look at the time frame of when that happened. If that home sold in January, a lot has changed since then. If that home sold in December last year, a lot has changed since then. Now, if that home has sold within the last couple of months or weeks, that's a good property to go off of. Now you look at that house and you see, and you compare it with your home and be very honest with it. Now, the second thing is present your home meticulously. So what I mean by this is you want to stage it. You want to have a good staging. Make sure your home is well presented. It's presented where a buyer can kind of walk through the home and feel that they can create their own home in there. If you don't allow a buyer to walk through, particularly if it's a first-time home buyer, a lot of times they'll make a decision because they were not able to go to a certain corner of the house because you just had a bunch of boxes or you had your couches set up in certain ways. Really present your home the right way. Make sure it's marketed very well. So I saw a stat some other time. It said 97% of homes are bought online because the buyers are looking at it. But you still need a real estate agent to help you go through the whole process. But a lot of times we're looking at these homes online and we're saying, like, I love this house. So sellers, you have to leverage that. You have to understand how to leverage that. It's not just a matter of putting your home up in the market and just listing it and just hoping for the best. This is not 2021 anymore. That was working at that time. But today you have to do a little bit more. You can do virtual staging if that's too expensive. So there's packages that are there that are offered that you can actually use as a seller. So that's very important. Then the third thing is be patient, but adjust as needed. What I mean by this here is if you came into the market expecting your home to sell for 1.1 million, the area that you're listing your property has changed. Let's say a property has sold, literally your neighbor's home has sold for around 930. It might not be a good house compared to yours, but it is closer to yours in terms of criteria. The renovations are not as good as yours, but the criteria is fairly similar, and that house sold for 930. This is where you now need to adjust. Even though, yes, you've done a lot of work to it, but this shows you what's going on in your vicinity. So what do you do by adjusting that? You have to do, let's say, like a price change which will attract more buyers that could come in. If you're listed your property at 1.1, you've taken out a lot of people who can actually afford your home for today's value, which could now come in and around 970 to 950. If you have your property listed at 1.1, somebody who can spend that 950, 960 is not looking at your house because of how much you have it priced. So if you adjust with what's going on today and you drop it according to the market, you're going to attract the buyer that could actually buy your home. Face the reality of what's going on and really talk to your real estate agent. I always break things down with my clients. So you have to have a plan. Like if you're going at it just expecting, I just want to get this number and then we'll see what's going to happen next. That's an approach that would hurt you more so than help you. Because in today's market, either on the buy end, you'll get a really good deal, but on the sell end, you might have to give a little bit. But when you're giving, since you have that plan set up, it will work out. It will offset each other. So just look into that a little bit. Now, let's look at the buyers. What should a buyer do today? Honestly, if you're a buyer, get out there. Get out there, see what you can do. Obviously, the first thing, make sure you can be approved. You can actually afford the monthly payments that are being offered. And if you get yourself in a position where you can do this, listen, you can reach out to me if you don't know what your next steps are coming up. You can watch them in the channel. But the major thing is just get yourself ready as a buyer today. I would say as soon as possible, really, because the rates are fairly friendly at the moment. You can get a 3-year fixed rate, and then you'll see how things are going to come up about in the next few years as well. But as a buyer, once you have that ready, then you put yourself in a position now where you go out in the market. Why? Because you have the ability to negotiate. There's so much properties in the market today. The inventory that's out there, the supply, you have choices. You don't feel like you're in a rush. Or you see a home and you're like, okay, we need to put in an offer right away. You're not in that position as a buyer today. As a buyer today, you can see this house, you're like, let me go and see this other one. Let me have a good comparison. So you want to submit an offer, you're like, I'm not really sure. Let me go back and see this house. Today, you have the opportunity to do that. As a buyer today, I would say this is the right time to shop, only if you're ready. So if you're not ready, obviously don't push yourself to get into the market today. Once the interest rates now keep on dropping, once the consumer get the confidence to come out, what do you really think is going to happen? There's going to be more buyers coming in. And once it flips to less supply and more demand, it's automatic. The prices are going to go up. I'm just advising buyers, if you're ready, get out there. So I want to leave you with this. Like, this is not a crash. It's just an adjustment in the market. Don't feel completely defeated in terms of if you're a seller that I just don't know what to do. Just go down into the drawing board, set up a time. I would love to talk to anybody who is just in limbo. You just don't know what you should do. You don't know how to go about things. A quick conversation with no obligation would help, and just have a good understanding of what's happening. So you can reach out to me. I have my link in the bio somewhere in here, and just schedule a time and we'll get into a conversation, or shoot me a text directly. I know some of you prefer doing that, and I'll reach out to you and we'll get into a quick conversation. But just stay informed, understand what's going on in the market, then get yourself ready, because you should be confident enough in the work that you've done. But until next time, see you in the next video.